spice is a collection of compounds that are synthetic cannabinoids, so they have the same sort of effect as cannabis, but the difference is that they're potentially purer and they can be much higher strength, so potentially they can have a much stronger effect and therefore the potential for more harmful effects as well.
These drugs are almost exclusively used in homeless communities and in prison, and part of the reason for that is because they're very cheap and they're very readily available, but also there's nothing that can really detect them. And so we kind of set our minds to wanting to see if we could provide some kind of detection capability, particularly to support people who are using these drugs who might end up in a coma, present in A&E, and actually we need there some kind of detection to say to them, to say to the medical professionals, this is spice, this is how we now go ahead and treat it.
If someone comes into hospital, say through the emergency room, and they are in acute psychosis, it's really important to work out what's caused that psychosis, and so therefore a quick test that would identify recent spice use could really help guide them in their kind of treatment pathway at that point.
The way the approach works is it does what we would call fluorescent spectral fingerprinting, and what that means is we shine a bunch of different wavelengths of ultraviolet light, which is kind of invisible light, on these samples. And the nature of the chemistry of these drugs is that they happen to give us back a lot of light in the form of fluorescence, also in the ultraviolet, so actually invisible, so we can't see it. What we do is we scan this ultraviolet spectrum and we gather all of the light that the sample is giving us, and that gives us a really unique spectral light-based fingerprint that we can then apply a bunch of maths to on the back end, and that's what we then do the detection off of. So we have libraries then of fingerprints of known drugs in known different scenarios, and so that's what we wanted to do with having a technology, really, is now deliver a solution that can support people particularly on overdose, but also potentially supporting people who want to try and come off these drugs.